we request you to kindly join VVox again for the participation of live polling. We will be having 2 questions back to back. You can submit your answers there. So I'm opening up the questions for you. In the components of solid waste, which one has a major impact on the environment according to you? Organic waste, paper, cardboard, recyclable plastics, non-recyclable plastics, metals, glass, domestic hazardous waste, sanitary waste, textile waste. Okay, so non-recyclable plastics, thank you for your inputs, and it's interesting. Non-recyclable plastics, according to you, are a more major impact factor in the environment. And this will help us streamlining our research on that. And there is second question. List at least one gap in streamlining the solid waste management sector according to you. I'm starting the poll now. This is really interesting question. I need to know answer from all of you as professionals in the field. So I'm looking forward to this answer. Okay. Okay. And wow, and these are the answers in front of us. Segregation, improper waste management, Swachh Bharat mission, organic waste, recycling, and lack of collection. In addition to that, in our report, we have highlighted these 15 gaps in streamlining the solid waste management sector. We have analyzed institutional proactiveness, collaboration and communication, administrative frameworks, infrastructure, national policy and strategic planning, financial support, administrative willingness, legal support to bridge the gaps and frameworks to put in place, city planning, effectiveness at municipal levels, corporate responsibility, public participation, partnerships with vision and execution are the key gaps in the solid waste management sector. This is the last polling question, which will be helping us knowing the strategies that you as professional think think that will be the triggering factor for maximum resource efficiency. And while you answer the question, I will give you some inputs about numbers. According to UNSCAP tool, 1% improvement in material resources efficiency could result in $58,229 million US save as cost of materials. And if you do you know how that where that equals to? It equals to 21.43% of general government consumption expenditure, 130.9% of foreign direct investments in loss, FDI, that we talk about. This material saving will cost us and help us saving 69.50 million tons of material, and will enable creation of 10.26 million jobs annually. Imagine the number if we improve the processes to just 5%, 5% simulation scenario, we will be able to save 347.5 million tons of material saved, 2,91,144 million US dollars to be saved as cost of materials, and creation of 51.29 million jobs annually. And please note that these numbers are not global numbers. These are numbers specifically driven for India. And it is interesting to see that all the professionals see that 3 are reducing the, circular economy strategy will be the triggering factor for driving this change. Now, for changing this circular linear economy to circular economy, it will be a paradigm shift that we all need to adjust, acclimatize, and change our behaviors accordingly. So for streamlining the policies, along with the solid waste management sector, PARC proposes stakeholder-driven inclusive policy, which considers stakeholders in every stage of policy making. Stakeholders that are so aware and engaged that they play active part in every stages by providing feedbacks and brainstorming discussions. And this is where you are important as stakeholders to drive the change along with us. As we have mentioned in our event teasers, this event participants belong to 7 different countries, 19 states of India, and 3 union territories of India. And many are watching us in live stream currently and will be watching us as recording. So we seriously encourage you to please visit our report section of website www.parkfornation.org and access the full report by contributing towards the development of initiative. Now coming back to WARSA and PARC's priority engagements to reduce the barriers in policy compliance. We do know that we have policies in place, written, streamlined, giving us all the objectives, all the needed resources for our adherence, but still the lack is there. And PARC thinks that following 4 sequential steps are essential for this facilitation. First is technology mapping. Second is achieving synergies. Third is increasing interest of stakeholders who fall into medium to low and no interest and pass their neglect, ignorance, inertia phase at least compliance stages, So you must be wondering what I'm talking about, XYZ categories and low to medium categories. So medium to low and to no interest is the stakeholder mapping categories that we have designed. We have total 8 categories in our report. So we encourage you to go to our report, understand what these categories are and how we can increase the participants from no interest to low interest to medium level interest to high interest. Okay. So, and then 4th will be the facilitating impactful decision that drive the change within our sphere of influence. So we do know that we all have internal and external stakeholders and we need to really collaborate with all the stakeholders in the value chain to streamline everything, every single aspect of our entire processes in the businesses. So in line with that, we have highlighted so far in the presentation all the key steps and key engagement strategies that Park would like to take further. This will be the focus on following key areas in the near future. Near future meaning to say it may be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. But Park will be interested in collaborating with following sectors: data transparency, cross-sector collaboration, research and sectoral interventions, impactful campaigns, technology mapping, regulatory interventions, database creation, and facilitating governance support whenever and wherever needed. So this is the report that we are going to you will be going to see when you visit our website www.parkfornation.org, and we encourage you to go there and have a glimpses of the report that that you can see. Now I would like to share here is I would like to give you some glimpses of the report pages. So if you can see my screen here, we are now routed through a Chrome website, and we now can see the website with a page view. Okay, and you can see here. Okay, I'll reshare the screen. 1 second. Let me know if you are able to see my screens now. And yes, and these are the few report pages that we would like to highlight. These are the key interlinkages, and all the report access, all those participants who have already registered with us for report access pre-launch registrations will be able to now log in and review the pages. So this is the shift that I was talking about: linear economy to circular economy to regenerative economy. This is the optimistic view that we are pointing towards. Then we have highlighted in the section global focus points that we will be looking for. These are the categories and the overall context of the report. I would like to share one more thing with you here with the stakeholder mapping. So page number 70. On the page number 70 of the report, you will start making a note of missing interlinkages in the value chain. From page number 70, 72, and going beyond the stakeholder things, you have we have all the bundles of interactive images put in place there, and we will be planning to have these interactive images as a resource section in our website, so that you can visit and you can click on your interest area, so that all the interlinkages with that area will pop up for you to streamline your strategies regarding that. So I'll stop my screen share here. Thank you for your presence today, which was very important to us, and thank you once again for helping us shifting the platforms. And we will be now moving on to our second session of interaction with guest speakers. And before I move on to introduce our eminent speakers today, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Amiya Sahu, who have rescheduled National Solid Waste Academy's Silver Jubilee function to join us today in the launch event ceremony. And I would like to thank Mr. Ehsan Gadawala for all his support, starting from the report research phase. And our first guest speaker for today is Ms. Afreen Kidwai, and I'm going to share screens for her presentation. Give me a second for that.
Thank you, Amraja, and good afternoon, everyone. It is so nice to see young faces as well in the audience. I think we're all very excited to speak to a range of audiences. It's good to have elders and people who are in the sector talk about waste management, but to talk to the next generation who really are the ones who are going to make an impact. This is a really good opportunity for me as a speaker as well, and someone who is in the media, always trying to create awareness on this very important issue. So thank you, Amarjan. Thank you, PARC, for organizing this and putting it all together. Technical glitches happen. We're living in this age. So that's okay. Let's make the most of it and talk about how the media can help the waste management sector in realizing its goal, especially in a country where we have a larger population. We need to reach out to a larger audience. I am Afreen. I edit a website on waste management, particularly municipal solid waste. It's www.solidwasteindia.com. And I'm really glad that this report even mentions the word media and IEC, because normally the media is not, it's often sidelined as a stakeholder in this whole process. And I do believe there's a lot of scope for working together in this whole mission to make India clean. And I think this was highlighted in your survey as well, where stakeholder awareness, Amarja, you said 38% people felt that there needs to be more awareness. And stakeholders includes everyone from public to NGOs to the decision-making authorities, ULBs, everyone. Can you move to my first slide, please, Amarja?
Yes.
I want to underline briefly about my website being started by a German company. It's interesting that waste-related news in India didn't find a platform on Indian waste websites. There was no newspaper which had appointed a waste management-related reporter, the beat, which we call a beat, a reporter's beat. There is no such beat. It's normally people who cover civic issues. They write about waste management and other health and other ULB-related stuff. So it took a German to realize that there's this big need for news related to the Indian market back home in Europe. So he decided to create this website. My website is owned by a German company, and they see a keen interest in the European markets for the Indian waste sector, which is why we got this website together. I now carry information related to what's going on in the solid waste sector. Now we're also increasingly writing about plastics, and we try to make it as easy to read, not only for the waste sector professionals, but we also get people from outside as well reading this website. Next slide, please. Briefly, I just want to make my key observations on this report. I do feel, Amarja, you've done a very comprehensive job. It's taken you a whole year to research this very complicated sector, and you've really highlighted important gaps in the ecosystem. You've reached out to so many people. All stakeholders must, I think, read this report to really understand what is going on. Next slide, please. And from the perspective of the media, these were my observations. I do feel, that public awareness and participation through IEC activities could have been highlighted a little bit more. I do understand that there were space constraints, but you have briefly mentioned notable examples in table 12, where you talk about cities that have involved the media, that have involved good level IEC activities to reach out to the people and communicate the importance of waste segregation and other waste management methods at the public level. Can you please move on to the next slide? Inform, educate, communicate. I think we all understand the importance of these three words. And you have also consistently emphasized this in your presentation, where we've spoken about communication and also highlighting the need for the urgency of the matter. Waste management is today's crisis, it's tomorrow's crisis. We really need to deal with it urgently and proactively. And public awareness and participation is absolutely critical. People don't want to be imposed with decisions anymore, and the media can be used very successfully to create a change in mindset. Like you mentioned, NIMBY, not in my backyard. Now that is something that we can consistently write about as journalists to raise awareness on the issue. Waste segregation at source, that's another popular topic that can be written about. So there's so much scope, and if only there was a more proactive approach on the part of the decision makers to publicize what they are doing, to communicate the risks involved, the benefits involved with certain waste management related decisions, I think we could see a vastly different waste management landscape in our country. Next slide, please. Now, when I talk about IEC, inform, educate, and communicate, typically we all know they involve local awareness drives. NGOs will also be involved in societies to talk to the people about how to go about segregating waste. They educate people living within complexes on how to compost their own wet waste. So there's lots going on at the ground level, lots of stakeholders involved, street plays, posters, advertisements, radio shows, lots being done, and multiple channels have to be deployed to achieve awareness. And mass media is just one tool in that. There are various methods. Mass media is one channel of communication, the entire IEC family, which I will be focusing on. Next slide, Amarja. And when I say media, I mean written, broadcast, or spoken. Newspapers, television, radio, and now podcasts are also coming big time into our lives. So these are the ways that you can reach out to a larger audience. And there are different print methods. Internet is one big tool that is now overtaking, I would say, print. If you can go on to my next slide on the importance of social media and the internet. Amarja, next slide.
Yes, one second, Afrin.
I think we all know the role that Twitter and Instagram and all these Facebook websites play in our lives. A lot of the ULBs use their social media to, I think this was the previous slide that you need to go to, the social media slide.
This one?
No, next one. And the one after that. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
So authorities are using it increasingly to announce their new initiatives. You'll also see on Twitter how they're cleaning the streets. Various leaders are out there on the roads. They're posing and posting pictures on Twitter. It mobilizes public opinion. It gets people charged up. And I think that the internet is proving to be a very, very important catalyst for change. It's actually calling people for action to just act now. Print, television are now becoming passé in that sense. Twitter, Insta, these are the places where you go to reach out to a maximum audience in real time. And they give the people to access information like never before. Can you go back to my previous slide, Amarja, where I have spoken on this study, which actually showed the 4 most powerful tools to reach out to the people. If you get the right media mix, you can reach out very impactfully to your audience. So television is number 1, newspaper is ranked 2, and internet and radio. These are the 4 most powerful media to reach out to the audience. And if used together, they can really be out there as a very good option to create a change in mindset, which is what we really are working for amongst all the stakeholders. Next slide, please.
You've covered this.
Yes. So the next one, please. Now, as a journalist, I'm often asked about, we're always, media bashing is very popular. And everyone tells me that, oh, the media doesn't highlight issues. They're always criticizing. But I would also like to say that it's often overlooked that ultimately it is the media that facilitates the dialogue between various stakeholders, be it the various decision-making bodies, be it members of the public. We also act as a watchdog. If I'm sure you all see newspaper articles on landfills, and dump sites with animals around and hotspots. So I do feel that the media has played a good role in highlighting issues. Of course, there is a long way to go. I'm not saying we're doing great work, because still environmental journalism remains very nascent in India. But there is immense opportunity, and there is a scope for sharing best practices in solid waste management. Like I said, that the advantage really here is to reach out to a broader audience with limited fund. If you work smartly, it's quite economical to tap newspaper articles, to promote what the best practices are, to interview people at the high level, to explain what ULBs are doing, which is very lacking right now. Next slide, please. So current scenario, I'm sure you always see headlines criticizing what ULBs are doing, which probably explains why even the ULBs hesitate to speak to the media people. But currently media engagement is very fragmented. It is very episodic. There will be reports once in a while. It's not consistent reporting going on issues. We'll always hear the bad news. I see very little good news, barring a certain bunch of media websites that talk about good stories in the sector. But overall, environmental reporting in India remains fairly poor, and the key word is consistent engagement is required by the authorities, by waste management companies, and to involve the local public, you need that consistency. If you have a report one day and then you disappear and publish a report the next month, the message doesn't go across. There needs to be a dedicated effort, a dedicated communications professional liaison with members of the media to drive home the message that waste is a resource. Waste is not waste. Waste should, there are ways of treating waste in a safe and environmental friendly way. Move on to the next slide, please, Amarja. My next slide.
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Currently, I feel information access is fairly restricted. Calling up a ULB and asking them about any information is an uphill task. I'm always diverted to one phone number and then the other phone number and a third phone number. It would really help if the public relations officers at ULBs and other authority making organizations were more media savvy, they were more accessible, and the data was updated on their website. The language was more able to reach a wider audience, because very often I do understand that there are state laws about language, but Hindi, English, multiple language usage can help promoting a ULB's efforts in waste management. Next slide, please. Finally, I do feel there's a lot of opportunity for me as a member of the media, and I'm sure my other colleagues in the media too, who can be approached to write about positive stories related to waste projects, best practices. As you can see on the side, there are some stories. Better India does a good work in terms of positive news sharing, but there is scope immensely to talk about waste management systems, how the waste to energy plants are functioning, some sort of explanatory reports on what is really going on, because we cannot ultimately publish them without the support of the companies involved and without the support of the authorities involved. So there is a scope to work together to publish both sides of the story. So people often who come up and do morchas because they feel a project is not working, there should be a platform where they explain both sides of the story. And of course, if a project is being executed nicely, it can be showcased very beautifully on various websites and news agencies as well. So let's work together to highlight the urgency of this matter. We've done that in COVID. Everyone's been educated fairly well about masking and social distancing through various mass media platforms. I see no reason why that could not be repeated with waste as well. This is as urgent a situation and as consistent a message that needs to be sent out. So I think that's about it. That's all I wanted to say. Let's work together. Let's create synergies between the media and the decision-making authorities, all the waste companies, to really spread out the message. And that change is happening. Increasingly, there are corporate communications people being appointed by companies like Averda and Ramkey, who are working with us, who send us press releases. But there's a huge gap as far as the ULBs are concerned, and we need to hear their story as well. We are currently doing it one-sided, it's all negative, but let's work together to really put out the information correctly and fairly when possible. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Afreen, for your wonderful talk. And I do agree with all the points that you have shared. And I do think that media as a stakeholder has a significant and pivotal role to play in the coming years. When we talk about down the line 25 years, we have talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
And when we talked about our planning 25 years after this, we will have a stronger growing relationship with all the media partners. Our next speaker is Secretary General Mr. Amar Singh from Material Recycling Association of India, and his key topic will be recycling challenges and the role of inclusive strategies for increased efficiencies. So I would like Mr. Amar Singh to please speak. The floor is all yours. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Amarja. I would like to applaud the work done by your team. The
Thank you.
Compilation of the paper, which of the book which you people have bought, is really very nice. You have covered each and every aspect of solid waste management in India, and really implementing this policy will surely help in developing the solid waste management industry in India. I'll just give you so I'm speaking here on the behalf of Mr. Ehsan Gadawala, who is the director of MRI. And just to give a background of Mr. Ehsan Gadawala, he has a 3-decade experience in this recycling industry, and now they have started up a plant in Dubai for recycling, as well as he's doing a lot of work for his community in India, and one of the most renowned person and best person I have ever come across. Yes. Talking about MREI, there are a few people who don't know what MREI is. MREI is a Material Recycling Association of India, and our main objective is to promote recycling in India. And it includes all kind of recycling, whether it is paper, plastic, metals, e-waste, glass, tire, rubber. And very recently we had a very good conference in Goa, which was attended by Mr. Sodi, and it was very much applauded by everyone. So talking about challenges, see, MREI is working on on national level in recycling, if I say. So there are two kind of challenges. One is like industry specific, and one is like society specific. If I talk about industry specific issues, yes, the biggest challenge we all are facing is deficiency of raw material. In India, there are more than 10,000 industries which depend upon basic raw materials which come through recycling. But to be very honest, there is no good source, or there is deficiency of material.
Hello, sir.
So there is a huge deficiency of material in the country. That is why we are too much dependent upon imports. As MREI, we don't want to import. We want that whatever raw material we want is available in India. For that, MREI is working very closely with various ministries. We are working with Niti Aayog, we are working with Ministry of Mines, Steel, we are working with Department of Petrochemicals and Ministry of Environment and Forest. These all ministries have come up with various policies. So if I talk about Niti Aayog, they have come up with 11 different policies wherein
So,
there is some disturbance from behind. Yeah. If I talk about Niti Aayog, there are 11 different policies on circular economy, and each policy talk about individual waste. Like one policy talk about ELV waste, one policy talk about ferrous and non-ferrous waste. There is a policy, one policy only on solid waste management, which Mr. Sodi is also part. And likewise, Ministry of Road Transport and Highway, they are also working on ELV policies. So we are in good hands. What I understand, we are in good hands. Government is supporting us a lot. At this moment, we are at a very nascent stage. In recycling in India is a very nascent stage, but government has started taking initiatives. They are framing the policies. Yes, it may take some time to get proper implementation. Once things are properly implemented, I feel whatever challenges we all are facing in today's era, that will not exist. So proper implementation of the current policies is the first thing. Second thing is awareness. Being in this industry, I see that still there is a lot of unawareness in people. People don't know that how these things can be recycled. And while talking to many people, they even don't know that TMT bars are made from scrap, and that are equally good than the bars which are made from virgin ores. And this really make me feel sad that people don't know about all these things. How this can be removed is education. We need to educate our kids. We need to educate people so that about recycling, so that they understand what and how recycling can play an important role in their life. For this, MRIA has taken a step. We are already talking to Education Minister in Maharashtra. I'm not recollecting her name. And also we had a meeting in Pune.
Varsha Gaikwad.
Yes, Srimati Varsha Gaikwad, yes. And yes, so we met her and she has directed us to some good officer in Pune. They all are working on curriculums on recycling. And this will surely, see, what I understand, another 5-10 years, not right now, but another 5-10 years will be a big game changer for recycling industry in India. The biggest challenge, what I feel in today's era, is informal sector. See, recycling happens and it is happening everywhere. But things which are recycled are of the choice of the person who recycles. He will take things which he wants and leave whatever he considers that it is a waste. We have to involve big companies in solid waste management so that proper recycling segregation thing happens, and we achieve what we really look for. There are various other challenges. As I said, there is a huge deficiency of raw material in India. So government should, till the time we are not self-sufficient, government should remove all kind of import duties on import of scrap. One of the biggest challenges is also the logistical cost. The logistical cost in India is around 14%, whereas in the world, the average cost of logistics is 6 to 7%. This should come down. Team of Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari is doing really a hard work to reduce this logistical cost. And we hope that sooner or later, this will also decrease. I think this is from my side. And if all these challenges are taken care nicely, we will be able to achieve what we require. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amar Singh Sarji, for your inputs. And there is yet another hot topic in the field out there is the GST percentages.
Yeah.
Yes. So if
all our industry people are like very badly stuck all because of this. There is a 18% GST on raw material, and which is like hitting very badly. Yes.
And it then has impact on replacing the virgin materials.
Yes.
So that has to be considered.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Amar Singh Sarji, for your inputs. And with expressing sincere gratitude once again to Dr. Amiya Kumar Sahu sir. I request him to speak on solid waste management in India's perspective. So I once again would like to sincerely thank Dr. Amiya Kumar Sahu for rescheduling their Silver Jubilee function for attending us live. That is a great privilege for us. Thank you so much. And floor is all yours, sir. Dr. Amiya, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Kulkarni. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly fine, sir.
Okay. Can you see me also?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, I must congratulate Park as well as the WARSA. The way you people have compiled the entire thing and the report, it is fantastic. I think if the report, as a professional policymaker or the professional in this solid waste management go through that, I think that is good enough, and the conference is not at all required at all. But you have done excellent work. I congratulate for that. Okay, now I want to give some anecdotes why we need policy. I will start from the inception. And I was never a solid waste manager or the policymaker. I was popular as a air pollution control consultant, and I used to do a lot of work since 1978 till in 1995. Okay, when I was given a World Bank team leader for Bangladesh in just 1995, exposed to all the solid waste in Bangladesh, to so many cities, starting from the Dhaka, Chittagong, and Khulna, Mymensingh, and all. When I was exposed to the solid waste, I felt, my goodness, this is the real environmental problem. Not only Bangladesh, but the whole, the whole world. Then I diverted my mind. I was coming back. I was caught by the chairman of the CPCB, our Dr. Dilip Biswas. Then he said, Amiyaji, you please help me out, and please send me the draft report of the Bangladesh so that the same thing I can make it as a rule for our country. Then I sent to him. Then subsequently, that it was in 1996, and subsequently it became the rule, the municipal rule of 2000. Then I tell you so many anecdotes. Then I found in the segregation, in waste segregation, it was a big problem. Till today, it is the problem. Even the Bombay municipality, they used to give, they provide the bins outside, that is not dry or the wet. They used to give only one bin. And one of the municipal commissioner, he introduced the auto bin. Auto is the company, French company. Then he used to put the bins everywhere. And at the same time, he used to also keep one bin at the top, that is for the cigarette ends. And that was a nonsense. When you put this, the cigarette end on the, it is quite open. And I said, how will you put it? It will fly in the air itself. So this has no purpose. So what I'm trying to say, why do we need the policy? So that was about the segregation. Then another municipal commissioner said, now you have to segregate all the wet waste. You have to convert into manure at your houses or the community level. This is also stupid. See, you have to have a professional knowledge on how to convert into a wet waste to the manure. Okay. And it was stinking, then the rate nuisance, that, and all sort of things. So these are the things. For the collection also, you see, okay, and there were big bins, community bins, they used to collect and all this thing. But wherever there is no space, in the narrow, what do you call, the lane, and you cannot enter, the big truck cannot go. So the one municipal commissioner, introduced donkeys to collect the waste. Then I started provoking. I said the Bombay Municipal Commission, municipality introduced donkey technology. That I put it in my website. Then immediately, after some days, is discontinued the donkeys. So that was it is. So then there's somebody, the other municipal commissioner came. He said, now there should not be any bin outside. We have to collect it door to door. Excellent. So that continued for some days. Then I was in the UN conference in Delhi, and one of the municipal commissioner gave the presentation. He said about the theme of the conference was methane to market. And my presentation was, why do you want methane? We don't want methane. Eliminate methane at source, because the methane is very dangerous, as you all know. It is about, it creates a lot of carbon dioxide, and for climate change is very bad. So tap methane. You must tap methane, then make it, what do you call, the methane to energy. Okay. So there are so many things are happening. Then I was, when I was there as an expert member in the planning commission, then the Niti Aayog, then I said about the waste to energy. I said, look, waste to energy should be a public property. You cannot invite the private company to make a waste to energy plant. It is very expensive, and nobody will put so many thousands, crores of rupees in the waste to energy. And in my meeting, even the vice chairman, Mr. Alwalia's secretary was there. He had come with the proposition to distribute 500 crores for all over the country for the incineration. There were so many municipal commissioners of the big cities. They said, we don't want this money. Because then I said, look, what is 500 crores for the whole country for the incineration? Each incineration will cost so many thousands crores. So we have to understand what is the meaning of incineration. You cannot say that you put up a boiler and incinerate the waste. So these are the some of my experiences. So I had to provoke to the government. Otherwise nothing will happen. Then as far as I heard about the kidwise, the journalist language and the media, very important. Even the media, you see, I suggested to the government, I said, whatever you are giving in the television, it is only the Hindi and English language. Why not in a vernacular language? If you, for awareness and education, we have to have in the media, in all languages, then only people will understand in India, because our country is a different country. And the garbage is money. When I announced garbage is money, way back in 2000, and I was called a mad fellow. What is he talking? How can you make the money out of the garbage? I said, yes, if you manage the garbage properly, then you make money. So these are the things. So this gives a sort of a motivation to the policymaker. You have to make a good policy. The policy formulation in India, it has to be two types. Broadly, it may be a legislative, the other one, the administrative. The legislation may be there, but it may not be possible for the administrator to implement. So what I'm trying to say, all the stakeholders, each and every stakeholder has to be taught professionally, and you have to take all of them in integrated way to to achieve the sustainability. All the stakeholders, whether it is the rule, regulation, whether it is with the circular economy, or it is the NGOs, where the NGOs are really professionally qualified or not, because that, those who are not qualified NGOs, it is a real nuisance and it's a very disaster. I tell you, they talk about so many, negative things. And technology, no doubt, technology is very important. Every technology, good technology, but how to go about it. Now we are introducing EPR, extended producers responsibility. We've already made the guidelines and submit to the government of India. That has to be done. Capacity, we have to give training to all these waste managers. It's very, very important. And that is train the trainer system. It's very important. So including the finance, yes, the finance, unless there is a finance, we cannot achieve anything. So, all these stakeholders has to be integrated properly, and we have to make a good policy. So I think Park will do that in the due course. So to do that, so there are a lot of things, many things to do. Yes, the long way. Okay.
Yes, sir. And without your help, we can't achieve anything. So we need you on.
Don't say that. I'm always there. I'm always there, whether it's for the education or the awareness or for the technology or anything, because we are a professional body.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Body. Okay.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Anytime, yes, we can. We also have achieved, in so many places, the zero waste management. We also definitely will do that. And the policy is very, very important. Rule, policy, implementation. Rule is there for the whole country. Then you have to come to the policy. Then we have to implement. Right. So anytime, any this thing, if you are required, and our association is very much there for the whole country. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and we will keep in touch for whatever this. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Sir, for sharing your experiences and challenges in the solid waste management sector. And through the stakeholder inclusive approach, we try to provoke this thinking in the system that we need to think about kids as a future stakeholder. And once we consider our actions and the impact that we will have on the future generations, that will streamline or even the governments, even the inertia phase of the government will pass on. That's what we are hoping for. Our next speaker is Mr. Prabhjit Singh Sodhi. He is a senior program director of Center for Environment Education, and he will be enlightening us with the role of institutions and academia in the waste management supply chain for streamlining the waste management. I request Mr. Prabhjit Sodhi to kindly unmute, and the floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you, Amaraja. Thank you very much. And
Thank you,
I'm standing in between the lunch for many people, but it's wonderful to be with your program. And very good afternoon to all of you who are there. And in spite of a little bit of technology hitch, nobody gave up. And that's a good sign, as you rightly said it. So, when I want to really share this, Amaraja, for the people who are attending, that when you contacted me, I was really interested and sort of very touched with the topic which you had set up, waste as a resource. Waste should not be called as waste, but it's a byproduct of a product. And we should always see that it's a byproduct and it has its usefulness. And there is a useful attitude of value to it. So I think it's a very important thing which you, and then when you touched again, waste as a resource, changing stakeholders approach, that was another factor which really brought me in to see the learning aspects across your way of expressions. So many congratulations. I wanted to tell a little bit about your report. reading it and discussing it number of times with you was very enlightening and unlearning my learnings. And I must admit that. And I'm sure that once your book and paper is coming up will be of great value to many people, both academics and non-academics, if I put it like that. It's not to be missed by stakeholders. Now, what are stakeholders? We will look into it, but your thought process is provoking. It's very provoking. And you have rightly said that the waste is directly proportionate to growing populations. And you have quoted a lot of figures there. And I think so that is culminated by a beautiful expression which the government of India has done, which also you have quoted, that rupees 141 crores allotted by the government of India from 2021. And we have Swachh Bharat Mission 2, which is already getting into the rural areas. Then we are strengthening the Swachh Bharat Mission 1. I think so India, under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, is really on road to pick it up. But there are, as we cannot satisfy everybody. Let me now come to the thought process of what your topic you have given me is about the institutions and the academia with the practitioners. They need to go hand in hand. You know, you cannot keep academia and practitioners out. There are various research studies which I would like the academia to really pick up in cities, in socio-economic categories. I have talked with you. We really need to see. And three speakers before me, Afreen touched this point very eloquently. So did Amar pointed out the challenges in very clear mandate. And of course, Dr. Saha was, as usual, very compelling that we have no choice but to do it. So I think that the academia really needs to understand the practitioner's point of view. They are facing a real challenge of inclusivity, how needs to be drawn for waste, because in the cities within varying socio-economic categories, inclusivity of the informal sector, as Amar rightly pointed out, informal sector is a big challenge. And that's what I was trying to do in my UNDP times when I was handling this project. I drafted this project. I visualized this in a way that how we really need to bring the inclusivity of the waste pickers, informal sector, and encouraging the third party, that is the waste picker, that is the waste management agencies, whether companies or new startups. So there has to be a strong focus. We are losing a great GST because this is all a parallel economy, which is all cash-based. Whether you like it or not, whether the rules permit or not, this is a cash-based economy, and we have to understand that. And it's a huge economy. And Amar also touched upon the third issue, which really needs to be focused, is all about recycling. I was recently at the MRAI conference. In that, I had a good session with the recyclers, which were from various phases, and we were about 30 odd of them in a room, 40 odd. They were all talking about their issues. And I said, I'll put my recycling agenda later, but let me bring out the thought processes which are bothering you. They were talking all about informal sector, how the informal sector is not being mainstreamed, how the losses are entering into the recycling, and how the most striking thing which touched me was that recycling is not being considered as an industry. It is such a risk-managed industry which the individuals are putting their own equity into it. And that needs to really change. Bankable, they were all talking, sab bade recyclers, big recyclers definitely make their way through private investors or through their high equity and profiting, and they are since ages into all this. But the new people coming into the small recyclers are finding it pretty difficult. They are not having bankable, even though they have bankable proposals, but still the bank is not giving them the recovery or the loan because of the I wouldn't say loss, but it's a little bit of a mistrust between the recovery patterns which will have the risk coverage. So I think so these are some of the issues which you should really look into them. And we had a wonderful discussion with these recyclers, both on policy. Let me give you a small example. When the pandemic broke in February, March in 2020, we were managing the program in about 30, 40 cities we established small material recovery centers, decentralized, handling about 3 to 5 tons of all dry waste. And this included running from plastics to glass to paper and newspaper and everything. When the pandemic broke, we did not stop generating waste. So then why the waste collectors were being stopped in the cyclic loop? How it happened, it was nobody's fault. We really ran in all cities, and I told my team that, look, we have to go in to help these guys. They largely were women and children engaged into this. So we from the UN had to maintain certain codes and ethics. And I went on the 7th of April. I got my own travel pass. So we got for about more than 3,000, 4,000 people getting the travel pass. People means all forms of small aggregators, all forms of waste pickers. I don't call them rag pickers. They are not rag pickers. You can call them in English as waste picker, but in our language, we call them Safai Sathis, Safai Mitra, whatever. They equally are citizens of this country, and they deserve to be having the same dignity and respect as you and me have. Unfortunately, they are bereft of all this, and I'm sorry to say this. But anyway, the other thing which I wanted to share here is, while I'm going to your topic, is that waste is increasing tremendously, which you have said it also. Extra wealth, growing marketing, advertising, consumption patterns, production systems, packaging. Waste during pandemic increased. And these people, we had to close that circle by getting them travel passes. The last loop was a big challenge. The last loop was where they sell their waste. Each of these people were coming to us, sir, we are having more than 100 kgs of plastic and other dry waste lying. We are not able to sell it. And the people who made the buck on this was the middlemen. And those middlemen really bought this at throwaway prices. And the loss of these people was, first, they lost their livelihoods. Second, they lost their incomes also. Just imagine the tremendous impact which has created. So these sort of studies, I would really encourage you to do now, how the change has happened. We did a very strong study on this, and I can share sometimes with you. My colleagues, Aparna, Prarthana, Pratibha, and all, they were very much engaged in this in the city of Mumbai. The third issue which I want to bring to your great notice is, under the stakeholders, as Dr. Sahu was also saying, citizens as citizens is the first responsible act. As citizens, we just do not feel our responsibility. And I apologize. All people sitting in this workshop of yours are first citizens. Then they are the title holders to what they are doing. As citizens, we have greater responsibilities. Then they come the waste pickers, which are involved with collection, segregation, transporters. Then waste management agencies, companies, startups, whatever you call them, they have to ensure safe disposal. And then there are ULBs, which are talking about clearances. There is a big headache on a municipal corporation and the municipal corporator or the governance body, the official governance body, and the elected members, which is a mayor or so. Their basic job is to how to promote segregation and clearances. And clearances, when I mean, is reducing the landfills, which are not landfills anyway, which are dumping sites. And the fifth set of stakeholders come is the recyclers, the co-processors, the waste to energy plant, and all those people who are bringing in the circularity or the circular economy approach, upcycling. And then comes the regulators. And then comes the government, whose job is to ensure safe health and environment. Safe environment. You see the challenges. So I would say that, that as citizens, we really need to propagate, and you as an individual, since you've given me time, I've got about 5 minutes more. As citizens, we really need to hold a greater responsibility of how we are reducing ourselves. How many times will I say refuse? I will not take a carry bag. I will carry my bag. I will refuse buying certain things which are having no proper packaging. How many times? In my own house, you know, I've been since last 6 years, I've never thrown a tea bag in the bin. With the result, I have more than 100 pots in my flat. And sometimes I see that I'm adding 1 ton of weight only through the pots. We just tear off it and put it in across these pots. We always do paper, white paper. Mind you, the audience with me here, the young people, some wise woman must have taught us to keep our newspapers intact and sell them. And I was talking to the newspaper industry and they said we have 94% recovery of newspapers. I asked them, what is the white paper recovery? They said 4%. Just imagine. So Amar Singh was right when he was saying that in the material recycling, we have to import paper. India is importing white paper. We in our own house, this is the paper, I will crumble it and throw it. Why cannot I put it along with the newspaper and give it back? It will find its way into the recycling if we give it in a proper segregation, which we do. Eggshells at the household, they can be put in a mixie. That is pure calcium. Banana peels, fruit peels, at least put them in water and mix it up and put it in the plant if you don't want to use it in any other way. They are full of nutrients. We don't need to add the nutrients. And of course, composting methods, people are talking at household. But I think even if we as citizens talk 4 or 5 things of segregation and using and reducing our waste outside, going out of the house, we have done a great job as citizens. And I was just sharing what we have been doing. And it sounds very funny, but it's the right approach. There are many things which are going. We have to rethink. One has to really rethink how much as an individual I am contributing in the GHG's emissions. If every individual in our country starts thinking, what is my contribution to GHG emissions? We have done a job. We are 1.4 billion people now, and that is a big thing. And most of our people in the urban centers are increasing every day. We are overstretching in every possible way. In electricity, we wrote a book called Low Carbon Lifestyles, how electricity use can reduce your bill. And electricity, mind you, has a greater impact if you see the life cycle analysis, production of electricity. Anyway, so reduce, refuse, reuse, recover are the things which we really need to see as individuals, as citizens, our responsibility. Coming back to waste, because the inclusivity, the dignity and respect which needs to be given. The recyclers have already spoken at length. I don't need to go. I must tell you a beautiful anecdote for a minute or two, and that is, I'll close within 2 minutes. We did a workshop in Patna when the new guidelines were coming. I was all in the committees of drafting these EPR rules and so forth. In Patna, when we did the first, thanks to the principal secretary there, Mr. Singh, and the pollution control board people, they went all out to do it in 2019. Early 2019, we did the first workshop. There was no registered recycler. Here we were bringing policies that we had to bring the waste into the registered recycler. Cut the story out. We did second workshop, and third, we have more than 15 now, or 12 to 15 recyclers embodied as registered recyclers. So we have to cut across to bring recyclers inclusive into the system and not remain a passive around them, so actively. So I think so. The other point which I want to leave before I close is that EPR is a great strategy and it's going to come across all sectors. The government of India through their Niti Aayog is bringing the circular economy approach, which the previous gentleman was talking. We have to focus in bringing a change in the systems of, you have yourself talked about traceability, reverse logistic, deposit return schemes. I want to say we have to, as products, bring labeling on how much is the recycled material used in it, so that people are getting sensitive about it when they're buying a computer. Okay, it has 10% aluminium, which is recycled, or the chip is recycled, or whatever. The technology has to bring all this. Lastly, thank you very much for bringing me in this program. And there is lots which is being done and lots will be done. And Afreen, I'm certainly going to touch base with you in order to see how the traceability and transparency which you were thinking and how the local knowledge can be valued. Once again, Amar Raja, thank you. You didn't give up. That's the true spirit of yourself.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And we were actually fighting this back end with all these technical things, but we got through. And thank you very much for your support since the research phase of this project. We now request Padma Shri Dr. R. Vasudevan to speak his part on the plastics not to ban but to plan. He is coordinator of TC NVIS, Dean of ECA, and Professor of Department of Chemistry. And we have talked about at length during our conversation. So it will be nice to engage with all the participants and delegates over here. And I would request Dr. Vasudevan to present his speech.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Though it is delayed. Very good. Very happy to be with you, and people of great experience are giving, sharing some of their experience. That is more in the case of administration and implementation. Here is the truth which I am going to share with you. The truth is more important, and it is how the truth is going to be implemented that is important. So I have to, as I told you, my topic is only not to ban but to plan. Remember that it's very important. Plastic is a poor man's friend. With due respect to my colleague, to my guru, and the great occasion which I got to get the rewards for the Padma Shri and so on. I would like to start with this. Change in attitude is very important. Creations are made by God. God creates no waste. You must remember this. God creates no waste. Nothing can be created by human being. But if God creates, can it be a waste? It is a man who creates. He's the man who creates the waste. Just because he doesn't know how to utilize it. Therefore, let us have not only reduce, reuse, it is more important. Rethink is very important. Let us think. Waste will become resource, and our attitudes will be service and sacrifice. So here, see, the plastic came to the existence in the 50s. Why it came? Before that, we have the World War, and because of that, a new change taking place, that is Industrial Revolution. And because of the Industrial Revolution, what happened now? That Industrial Revolution resulted in demand of wood, metal, ceramics, etc. And there is a deforestation taking place, grabbing of land taking place, villages move cities, loss of cultivation, pollution, air, water. How to overcome this problem? God made a wonderful alternative for that. See this, because of the industrial growth, see here, what happens? Because of that, everything, your growth of industries resulted concrete jungles, water bodies depleted, exploration of nature, villages, etc. and so on. And with the result, here, you see, the nature has got its own way of doing things. Whenever there is a problem, nature takes care of it.
Someone is annotating. Wait a second, sir. Someone is annotating. Will you please stop annotating the slides? We request you to please stop that. Please go ahead, sir.
Press, express. Down the button. Therefore, the plastic came as a substitute for wood, substitute for paper, fiber, metal, glass, etc. And thereby, the reduction in use of all these natural materials and exploitation of natural materials are a bit prevented. And the plastic becomes very handy now. The plastic becomes very, somebody is interested, the plastic becomes very much handy now. It becomes poor man's friend, common man's need, nature's protection. Almost all the materials now it comes the plastic or appliance and engineering materials. So it becomes part and parcel of day-to-day life. Let us understand the importance of plastic. We go along with the growth. We go along with the development. Can we live without computer now? Can we live without a cell now? No. We can't. Cell creates so much of problem. Can we ban cell? No, it is not possible. So how to tackle the problem, how to utilize this positively is very important. So plastic is a very, very useful material. And the only problem with respect to people say is, see, what happens, paper, they say plastic is not biodecomposable. Let it be. It's not a problem. But plastic is a wonderful binder. There are many materials in the world which are not biodegradable, but still we use it. Stone is not biodegradable, we use for construction. Gold is not biodegradable, we consider as jewel. Plastic is not biodegradable, but it's a wonderful binder. It is used for very many constructions. And the plastic which is used, see here, varieties of plastic, all from cups to carry bags, we are using so many things. All those things, whether you ban or not, it's the market. It is going on. So what we do now? The whole problem is ourselves. The waste, if I can say, it is only human being. He only throws it on the road. And because of that, it gets accumulated, municipal solid waste, us and the sea. All those things because of the carelessness of the human being only. If you properly dispose the waste, no problem is there. Plastic is the most useful material. All because of our own bad garbage culture. I am repeatedly insisting upon that. We talk about so many things. Waste. Who has created the waste? You have created the waste and talking about waste. What do you mean by that? There is no question of waste. Everything has got a use. God's creation, nothing can be wasted. So the plastic has got a wonderful use. And see here, the plastic, what you do? The producer produces it, market it, forget it. Consumer uses it, throw it, forgets it. The government collects it, but dumps it, forget it. And there comes the municipal solid waste, there comes incineration, all problems with it. And the sea debris, what are the sea debris, Cigarette butts, chocolate, bottle. Do you mean to say fish are smoking? How you get all those things? And let us understand, first of all, we are responsible for everything. Of the 84 lakhs living beings, only man is creating all the problem. Let us refine ourselves first. As a previous speaker said, let us be a good citizen first of all. Let us be a good citizen so that we don't create any problem. It is our plastic, but we create a problem, become unhygienic, so everything comes, all the problem. But see, the same plastic I have used to convert into a best road. This road has got 15 years already. No pothole, no crack. Cost-wise is less. And this can withstand wonderfully 40 tons load easily. The road will not get. And it can withstand heavy rains. It can withstand flood. It will not get affected. The strength of the road is doubled. And you got the toilet. We can construct the toilet in just over. The toilet consumes half a ton. For road, for a single 1 kilometer road, I use 1 ton of plastic. And for Indian roads, I need 200 lakhs tons of plastic. India has got only 5. Where is it? Therefore, the plastic is the most useful material and it is helpful for getting a better road, better saving bitumen, cost-wise less, solid waste man becomes very easy. And the property of the plastic is very positive. There is nothing wrong about it. No gas evolution. Nothing is evolved here. And see here, and the plastic can be used as a binder, as I told you, by mixing the plastic, and we get a wonderful material called plastone, and the coating of the plastic improves the quality of the stone, which can help the better road also. And the process is a very simple process. You take the aggregate, heat it to 170 degrees, add plastic over that. You coat it and add the bitumen, you get the plastic, the road. Just 30 seconds extra, the road becomes wonderful. And the technology is so simple. And see the characteristic of the road, strength is increased, no pothole form, withstand heavy load, decreased bitumen consumption, construction costs reduced, value addition to the waste plastic. Now waste plastic costs good, each ton cost about 30,000 rupees. And nil maintenance for 15 years, no effect for radiation law, life of the road doubled, cost of the road less, performance very good. It has been well checked. And the plastic which I use is, see, remember, all multi-layer films. They don't have you cannot recycle it. You talk about recycling. Multi-layer films cannot be recycled. There are 3 layers, 5 layers, 7 layers are there. Your plastic, your biscuit cover, chocolate cover, food covers, they are multi-layer. They can be used only in a road. And these material, they don't produce microplastic also in the process. The road never gives out microplastic. No new machine required, no individual industry involvement, and in situ process, eco-friendly process, and scrap already existing road can be reconverted with the less cost and no need for landfilling. So this technology is a very handy process. And see here, the roads, we have 45 lakhs kilometers, and I need not less than 200 lakhs tons of plastic for road making. India has got only 5.6 billion tons. So not even 10% we have got. So we can use all the plastic for road making. There is no problem at all. Therefore, not to ban, but to plan. Why I say? Because if you collect it, you get a better road. What do you want to ban it? And then see here, this has already been appreciated by our government, and many countries have already implemented technology. We have the patent, we have the coding, and the Prime Minister has already informed that the highways roads will be laid and rural roads will be laid by plastic roads, and the communication is also there. No problem. In addition to that, the plastic is also helped to develop a product called the plastone, which I am having in my hand. The plastone, it is no sand, no water, no bitumen, no cement, no adhesive, but this is 10 times stronger than concrete. We can use this for house construction, for lawn construction, for paver work, for tabletop. It is a synthetic granite, which is a very, very useful. We can use this technology not only to dispose plastic, but also solid waste like stones, ceramics, concrete debris, etc. So wonderful product you are able to get only from the waste plastic. So pathway blocks, paver blocks, waste canal lining, compound wall lining, lawns, bricks, say, rail sleepers, portable, all those things can be obtained from these practices. Therefore, we need large amount of plastic. Various products also we have done using waste products, modified bitumen, modified that is call it roofing sheets. We are able to get, and many new work also is going on direction. And you know, during the COVID, it is a plastic which helped, you know, with the PP. Without PP, you can't live. Therefore, I always put it, it's a blessing in disguise. COVID has come. And in the process, what has happened, you know, all the man has been put into arrest. You are in the house arrest. You are all up and asked to go to house arrest. And all the industry has been closed. No vehicle was moving. So what is happening? This is a man who is responsible for the industry. This is a fellow who is responsible for all the pollution. Therefore, he has been punished to go inside the house to live in the 1 year or to work at home. Live, thereby saved, and the environment becomes less polluted, river less polluted, and industry pollution stopped. Therefore, remember, it is we are one most important message is we are responsible. We are having so many seminars, so many things. What for? We have created the problem and conducting seminars. What do you mean by that? Unless we refine ourselves, we change ourselves, we cannot change the atmosphere. Therefore, plastic is more useful before in all forms. Now from the automobile to spoon, everything's plastic. Your brush is plastic. Your pen is plastic. What is not plastic? And after without throwing it, if you collect it, I can use it, I can make it into convert into a wonderful product. Indian roads will be 50, no pothole means, 15 years, no maintenance. We spend about 300 crores, 3,000 crores every year for maintenance. Whereas there is no money required for maintenance because 15 years, no maintenance required. So roads are very good. Your toilet, for each toilet, half a ton of plastic required. India is concerned 2 crores of toilet, 1 crore tons of plastic required. Where is it? There is no plastic. Collect the plastic and use it for various purposes. Plastic becomes, and the environment becomes better, the road becomes better. Therefore, it is individual own responsibility. Very important. As is put it, individuals will be better citizen. An institute should work on this innovation. An industry should take the responsibility. It is we, the plastic industry, are responsible throwing off the plastic. Why not they participate to collect it by back payment? There are different methods available. They can do that, and the garbage culture will be improved. And therefore, you must change your attitude. God gives always a chance to change the right direction. I can definitely say, here is a chance to find out where when I started it, there is no waste. Everything is yours. Look at it differently. You can make so many new things in this world. And the same plastic is going to come on to different types of products in the world in the subsequent years. It is only something in between we are talking about ban. No question of ban here for that. See here, this is actual sales. We are writing ban plastic. But the man wearing a plastic dress, the brush is plastic, the board is plastic, he is sitting on a plastic stool, looking everything in plastic and say ban. What do you mean by that? It is not so. Therefore, try to understand the responsibility, try to understand the importance of plastic, and try to use the plastic, collect it, segregate it, use it for betterment. That is the best technique. Therefore, all your 55% of the plastic are your packing material. All the 55% plastic can be very well be used for roads. But the roads construction, so many construction, we have now developed hollow bricks for house construction. So plastic is a good substitute, very good substitute for cement. But there is no problem with this plastic because plastic is a binder. Let us remember that. It is not biodegradable. It is a binder. Use it as a binder, you can solve all the problems. So no question of plastic problem. The problem is only with the human being. Therefore, I say not to ban, but to plan. God created plastic and shows that as life. And God has shown me the technology for using plastic. Let us understand it. So people who talked earlier, they talked so many things, but nobody talked about all those things. So let us understand, assimilate, plan. See, the plan, God. I met our Prime Minister in 2015 and I told him, he said, I will implement it. Within a month, he released a government order. But who is implementing? The bureaucracy, who are not doing it. Why the problem? So let us understand the bureaucracy. Let us change the mind. Let us first think, let us be a citizen and try to do something useful to this country. Then whatever job you do, you will do the better way so that India will be better. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. There is a key stakeholder who is really interested in our talk and who is annotating our slides, trying to give his own creations into the slides and speaking in between. So I request that to be a little bit, your time has to come. You are future stakeholders. Okay. So now I will ask Mr. Ramdas Kokre, who is Municipal Commissioner, Kalyan Dombivli Municipal Corporation. He will be speaking to us regarding achieving the source segregation at municipal levels and key strategies. I would like to highlight here is Mr. Ramdas Kokre was one of the first municipal who started the effort in the town Vengurla, and which is now being replicated in Matheran as well. So I request Mr. Ramdas Kokre to please speak. express your gratitude. And just a note to Dr. Rajgopal and Vasudevan sir, please stop your screen sharing so that Mr. Kokre sir can share the screens if he wants.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. Really, waste is not a problem, but its management is a real problem. We misplaced how to store it. We misplaced waste to store in our house. Waste management story just start from house of each person. There is no need to segregate waste. Waste is already in different forms. It should be keep in a different level. So there is no need to segregate it, but there is need to keep it separate. As segregation is the key point for the solid waste management. As we segregate, we separate it in several types, there will be no waste at our dumping site. In 2015, we start this story at Vengurla, and Sodiji visited there. They know about Vengurla, and just we start this story before the MSW rules came into existence. Rules came into existence in the April 2016, but our success was achieved in October 2015. As we segregate our waste in 27 categories. We segregate the wet waste in 5 to 6 categories. As we need waste for biogas, we use kitchen waste, vegetable market waste, fish market waste for biogas, and we generate electricity from this biogas. 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Please take your time.
Oh, sorry. And we utilize garden waste for briquette making, as we does not use garden waste for biogas. So we find a way to dispose this garden waste. So we make a briquettes from this garden waste, and from coconut nut shells, we find some vendors to process it, and we sell them. After that, this green wet waste, we recycle dry waste in many ways. As earlier, Rajgopalan sir elaborate about road making. We developed near about 25 kilometers roads at Vengurla, and we sell our plastic waste at 10 rupees kg to our contractors for road making, and we get revenue from our plastic waste also. Then plastic bottles, glass bottles, metals, papers, we sell them for recycling in different ways. From paper waste, there is a need for a paper pulp industry as a raw material. From tires, we made a bunds to conserve water, to restrain water flow. Likewise, we find different ways. And for footwears, we find vendors for 3 to 5 rupees per kg. For thermocol, we find some vendors. Likewise, we have all type of vendors for all type of waste. And for sanitary napkins, diapers, we process it through biomedical agency, like incineration, which is a best way. For chicken waste, we make compost from this chicken waste. And dead animals, we use a indigenous way, that is buried in the deep soil. All this type we search to dispose our waste, and in 2015 we found that there is no remain trace at our dump site. And our previous dump site, we did a biomining. We screen it, all the legacy waste, and through that screening or biomining, we utilize all legacy waste, and we reclaim our dump site. And then after 2nd October 2015, there was no burden on our dump site, and then we maintain it as a zero dump site and zero landfill site. As there were 27 categories of solid waste, we separate it in 27 categories from household levels. So there was no chance to contaminate our waste. As we maintain its purity, there is a recyclable value, there is a value for each and every type of waste. As we avoid its contamination from its generation, then we will get a good price, a good recyclable value for our waste. Really, waste is wealth. It is not waste. During my bylaws making, there was one printing mistake. Ghana kachra was printed as a dhana kachra, and I got that point. Really, that mistake is right. And we realized that our ghana kachra is not ghana kachra, it is actually dhana kachra. And since then, we look that waste as a wealth, and we got near about 1 lakh per month at Vengurla. And after that, I was transferred to Karzar in January 2018. Within 8 days, I replicate Vengurla model at Karzar, and then we explore more types. That is, we segregate waste in 36 categories at Karzar, and it is a developed stage. Then I got a chance to work at Mathiran, which is a tourist destination, and at Mathiran, we also replicate this model, and within 8 days, we also achieved success at Mathiran. As Mathiran, there is no vehicle, all waste is carried through workers, and we got opportunity to utilize mini train as a goods carrier. Like our dry waste was carried out through that mini train, and we got permission from railway authority also. So at Mathiran, Vengurla, Karzar, there is no need to dump our waste at dump site. There is no need to landfill at these 3 cities. Then I got chance to work at Kalyan Domboli Municipal Corporation, which is nearly 1.8 million population, and many people said that these models are for small towns, small cities. We can't repair it at a big city. But I can say that during such a COVID situation, we got a success at Kalyan Domboli Municipal Corporation. And we achieved segregation level from 2% to 85% at Kalyan Domboli also. And near about 95% waste is processed daily at Kalyan Domboli also. And within some months, we will achieve zero landfill at Kalyan Domboli also. So I am happily, I will share you, there is a psychological problem among citizens. I can say it as a psychological disorder. Many people do not understand that solid waste is a duty of citizen. They just put all their waste in one bin and they are handovering that bin to municipal corporation, or they were throwing that bin at public place. But it is not good thing. We should keep separate all that waste which is generated at their house. See, at Kalyan Domboli, we have one campaign at first Sunday of every month. We have a e-waste collection drive. At second Sunday of every month, we have a cloth collection drive. At third Sunday of every month, we have a glass and footwear, glass and paper collection drive. And at last Sunday of each month, there is a footwear and furniture collection drive. So people have a habit to keep all this type of waste separately. And we have a wall of humanity at 8 places. At that places, people brought their clothes and toys and put there, and some needy people have benefit of that goods. Like this, I firmly I can say that waste is a not problem. Our psychology, our attitude is a real problem. And if we separate our waste in many types, there will be no waste at our dump site, no waste at our city level, and there will be no need of a landfill site. During my 11 years tenure of chief officer in administration, I got near about 32 crores awards. I got 32 crores awards from government authority. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ramdas ji, for sharing your insights. I still remember our talk regarding the differences between the urban mentality and the semi-urban and town mentality of the stakeholders that you worked around. And I would like to mention that while your talk, you mentioned 27, but when we analyze, you are actually segregating in your corporations. So that is the great commendable work that you are doing. As our next speaker, we have Mr. Sandeep Asolkar, Managing Director, SFC Environmental Technologies, and he will be speaking and enlightening us regarding challenges in the growth of municipal solid waste in India. So I would request Mr. Sandeep Asolkar sir to share his his views on this very, very challenging topic. Thank you. Sandeep sir?
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for inviting me to speak on this forum. We had a very good first few sessions, and it was quite interesting and informative. I would slightly like to shift the focus to the challenges being faced in waste management from the operator's point of view. So basically, we are doing waste management at Goa, and we had started research and trying to figure out how do we tackle this problem with my colleague Aparna Kapoor. She was instrumental in doing a lot of study and research to find out how we can overcome this problem. A lot of my earlier speakers have really given very good inputs regarding how the waste can be minimized, recycled, reused, and how we can generate some form of revenue from the waste. I will talk more on the reasons why we have, in fact, in India, we have a huge amount of waste, but that many projects or that many success stories are not available in the country. We do have small success stories like the commissioner sir who just spoke before me, like Vengurla and all have been very great success stories, but they are very few and very far apart. So it's not that it has been done countrywide, and it has not really caught up the way it should have actually, considering the enormity of the problem. So let me quickly, I had a few points to say, but most of those points regarding the public has been covered, but I just like to recapitulate. See, there are three issues into waste management. One is the responsibility of the people who actually generate the waste. That is one. Second is the responsibility of the government. And third is the responsibility of the operators who actually treat the waste. Now, what has happened is, first, let me cover up the generation potential. If you see 20, 30 years back, we actually did not have this problem of solid waste. I used to go to my village, maybe I'm talking about 70s, 80s. We used to go to our village for summer occasions, and we used to have marriages there. And in the marriage, the whole village used to eat. And after the feast, next day morning, there was no waste. Absolutely zero waste. What we used to do, we used to have some leaves on which people used to eat, either banana leaves or patroli is what we call. The whole food was cooked in what you call utensils, which were either steel or some metallic utensils. The food was served on these leaves. People used to eat, and whatever was thrown off was eaten away by the cows and the other animals there, and completely the villages were completely zero waste. Now today what has happened is, because of use of a lot of other artificial materials like plastic, ceramics, thermocoals, and other things, the waste quantity has increased. What Vasudevan sir rightly told is, we are actually not planning properly. So the first responsibility of the people actually is, I would say, is to reuse at source, maximum possible reuse what we can do at source. So that is the first responsibility what the people can do, so that this problem can be reduced. Second is, try to minimize your waste. So again, whatever is not required, we need not use. So if you actually see the generation of the waste and your what you call the income levels are directly proportional. The more the income levels rise, the more the person wastes. The waste generation in poor communities or villages is far lower than maybe in affluent societies. So basically, the affluent society needs to understand that just because you have money, you are not here to create waste. So a lot of waste, like packaging material especially, is too much which is created. Second is
we need to do a proper segregation. See, what happens is segregating at source, like in the household level. We are only talking today of two-point segregation, that is organic and inorganic. If that is not done properly, it costs a huge amount of money to do it at the plant level. So if you have a waste and this waste is carried to a plant where the plant is treating this waste, and the segregation is not proper, it costs maybe 10 to 20 times more. And it actually, when you want to segregate, it doesn't cost you anything. Just instead of, say, the left bin, you have to put it in the right bin. That is all what it costs you. But because of not doing it properly, the costs at the plant are huge. So basically, you'll have to pay for that. And the third mentality, what the people also should understand is, we are the persons who create waste. And so we are supposed to pay for that waste. The general attitude here is people want to throw some things out and they just want to forget. And people actually do not want to pay for treating their waste. Now, if people don't pay, then no waste treatment can be done. See, there are people who pick up the plastics, like the speaker ahead of me said that they are like, they don't call them rag pickers, but they are friends actually. But these people, if you see, what do they earn at the end of the day? See, we also, it's our responsibility to give them some dignity in life. So they are working, doing the dirty work for us, and they should also earn enough. So there has to be a proper cost to be paid to the recyclers. So if say a person picks up plastics, because in Goa where we are doing the waste, there are several rag pickers, and they used to earn something like 25, 50, 100 rupees after working full day in the sun, in the rain, whatever it is, and they would barely be able to feed their families. So we have actually absorbed all these rag pickers into the plant, and now they're getting at least say 15, 20,000 rupees a month. Second is, if these people who are working in our plants, these are also human beings and they also need dignity. In a mindset which we have seen is that the person who is doing the most dirty work is paid the least. Actually, it should not be that way around. The people who are doing this waste are doing good service to the people. So people who are actually working in waste should be actually paid higher than people who are doing the same menial task, but in a better environment. Maybe say like a construction worker is, say, if he's paid say 500 rupees a day, a garbage worker is possibly getting 200, 250 rupees a day. Basically, we need to actually raise so that there are more people who are interested in coming into these jobs, and we can do. Basically, I can tell you from our point of view that engineers, like there are engineers who are required at the plant. A computer engineer possibly sits in an AC office, generates a lot of waste, and gets about ₹1 lakh per month easily. Whereas a person who comes to a garbage plant, if he can be paid ₹1 lakh, he actually needs to be paid ₹1.5 lakh because he's leaving his comfort and comes there. But then that money has to be recovered somewhere. That money cannot be recovered from the selling the waste recyclables. So there is a gap, viability gap in this model. And for that, first is the people need to pay. If the people start paying for their waste, then I think the whole problem of treating this waste can be easily solved. Second is, I would talk about the government. The government, actually, the attitude needs to change. Like what sir who spoke to me just before that, he has taken a lot of responsibility. I have hardly seen bureaucrats taking responsibility for weather, because it's not their problem. They are basically, they think that this is what you call, it is wealth actually. Yeah, it is wealth, but that is a part wealth. It is not a full wealth. It's not like gold. So that someone will come and treat your waste and you don't have to do anything. That is not going to happen. So they have to take responsibility for their waste. So if a city like Bombay is generating about 10,000 tons of waste, so it needs proper mechanization, proper planning, and proper investment. So government needs to be ready to make those investments and also fund the viability gaps. Otherwise, if you expect that people will come and do it free, that is not going to happen. It does not happen. So there have been cases where people have said, okay, you give me waste, I'll give you, say, X amount of rupees per ton. Such plants People have tried, but those plants have not come up and they have failed. So basically, we also need to ensure that if we have to tackle this problem, a proper amount of investments, the assets needs to be owned by the government, and a proper investments in technology and resources and the operation of the plants also needs to be done. So if that is done, only then we will be somewhere near to solving this problem. Coming down to the operator level, the operator needs to have three pieces with them. First is the operator needs to be a passionate garbage worker actually, because an operator who comes in and who does not have passion in treating garbage is definitely not going to succeed, because doing garbage treatment is a very difficult and a very complicated and a dirty job, and you need to have a lot of passion. So I've seen a lot of speakers before me have shown a lot of passion. So these are the right kind of people who can really create their difference. A person who is not interested in doing garbage treatment just as a sake of business is not going to be really able to do that. So it's not any other business. It is a business. Yes, you can also earn some money out of it, but it is more of a social service and a complete dedication, and you would like to give back something to society. If that is the attitude by the operator, then there is a likelihood that the project might succeed. Second is the operator needs to have a lot of patience and perseverance, because there are a lot of challenges in this field. The biggest problem in the waste is the input is never constant. So it is very difficult that to plan any process or plan anything. When you don't have a constant input, it's extremely difficult to plan any process. So the process needs to be modified. There has to be a daily innovation being done at the plant level, so that whatever changes in the waste characteristics or the composition of waste comes, it can be easily be handled in an environment-friendly way. Third is the technology costs. Generally, what we have seen in India is that people go abroad, they see some plant working there, and they come there and try to copy that plant here, which definitely does not happen here. Mainly because the composition and the characteristics of waste are quite different. If you go to Europe and US, you have a lot of dry waste, very little wet waste, and the composition of wet waste also is different. Here we have a high quantity of wet waste and we have a very low caloric value in the overall garbage. So basically, like if you put an incineration project, the incineration project is not going to be viable. You need to have a lot of payments made to the operator or investments done into the project. Otherwise, that project won't happen. Same as with the biomethanation or a MBT type of process. So proper technology has to be adopted, and the technology has to be indigenized. It has to be adapted to the local conditions. Direct approach of just taking a technology and using it here possibly might not work. Third is the costs. Basically, the biggest problem in for the waste operator is the costs of operations and maintenance of the plant. The cost, because the machineries and all, there is a huge amount of abrasion and corrosion. So there is corrosion, a natural corrosion, a lot of acids and other things are generated in the waste, because of which it eats up all the stainless steel, concrete and all the structures. Plus, because of the sand and glass present in the waste, there is a high amount of abrasion. So machineries which possibly have an average life of 7 to 10 years outside would not last more than 2 to 3 years in a garbage bin. So there has to be a constant replacement, and it actually is a very high cost in operation and maintenance of a plant. So the operation maintenance costs need to be factored accordingly, and the cost needs to be paid. Otherwise, the project will work for a couple of years, and then if the operator is not able to invest in that process, the plant will not work anymore. Third is the financing. The financing models, basically, we have gone into a tipping fee model. Most of the plants, people talk about the tipping fee. I'll pay 500 rupees or say 700 rupees. A tipping fee model is definitely feasible, but the tipping fees needs to be much, much higher. If you go abroad, normally people compare plants with Europe and USA, where their tipping fees are on an average about 15,000 rupees a ton. So about 200 euros or say to $150, where 12 to 15,000 rupees a ton, and we are talking here of 500 rupees a ton. So again, that is one of the reasons why not many plants are coming up, nor are those plants successful. And finally, I would talk about financing. In a financing situation, basically, for an operator to invest and keep funding is a challenge in this sector. And that is the reason why, if you see, many operators have put up some plants. There have been various models, but finally, you don't have many success stories. The main reason is that the financing model needs to be revamped. We need to have a financing model where the government takes up the capital responsibility, whether be it annuity, hybrid annuity, or PP, whatever mode. That is not responsible. But finally, there has to be some investment from the government side and also some investments for operation of the plants. We can reuse the recyclables. We can generate methane out of it. We can generate energy out of the system. We can do a lot of byproduct recovery, resource recovery, and create a revenue stream for the plants. But irrespective of what you create, these revenue streams are not going to be enough to recover the investments which are required for the plant, and also enough to operate the plant properly and successfully for a reasonable period of time. I would say a reasonable period can be about even 10 to 20 years. If you say it's not going to happen. So basically, the government needs to also think about this, and such financing models, if we can develop and implement, I think it will be easily possible for people to put up such plants and in large cities, and we can do a lot in tackling and handling this problem and making our country really a Swachh Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your input, Sandeep sir. And regarding the financing model, we will in our WARSA report we have covered this with FCA and life cycle analysis and full cost analysis systems to provoke this thinking process again for implementers, new innovators, and the system setters to consider, and then evaluate the tipping fee model when you talk about this to governments and municipal corporators in the region. I'm seeing vibrating chats in the sector, and I would like to point that out and answer those chats after we are done with Mr. Ullas Parlikar, who is a global consultant in waste management, who is provocatively and actively involved in the circular economy initiatives, and he talks very deeply regarding the industrial sectoral segmentations and collaborations and symbiosis within the industry. So his key topic today will be industrial symbiosis for the circular economy. Ullas sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Mrs. Kulkarni. It's pleasure to listening all these stalwarts, and very interesting submissions. A lot of food for thought. I'm sure the report that you have come out with will get richer and richer with the submissions that the presenters have provided. In this particular session, very interesting session, of course. Amazed by various submissions which have been done and achievements which have been demonstrated in the sector of solid waste management. It's excellent, absolutely excellent. I would like to just take you through a concept. This concept is called as industrial symbiosis for circular economy, and I'll tell you why I've decided to speak about this subject. When Dr. Vasudevan talked about utilizing plastic waste as plastones or utilizing that material as a resource in the road construction, obviously, he did not look at that plastic as a waste material, he looked at it as a resource material. And he worked upon the technology and ensured that the technology demonstrates the performance which is exemplary. Similarly, what Mr. Ramdas Kokare talked about in terms of achieving segregation, although he said separation, segregation of the waste into more than 77 categories, and finding a buyer or a use for each one of them of these particular separated entities. Dr. Sidhu, Dr. Sodhiji, he also spoke about how these things can be recycled. A large amount of work that he has done is in terms of recycling waste material and finding the gainful utilization of that same is very, very interesting. So one important thing, if you look at what is being said so far, is that we have to target waste as a resource material. And then we need to convert that waste into a resource material. It doesn't just happen. It is never like that. You have to change the waste into a resource material. Then only there's a buyer. Then only there is a user for that. And that is where the industrial symbiosis, a concept, works very, very well. For example, you as a society, or we as a society, we generate a lot of waste, which has organic content, which has plastic, papers, metal, inerts, a lot of things. If they are segregated properly, they can be utilized by the society themselves. Like, Dr. Asulkar was talking about how in the villages, there used to be no generation of waste at all, even after the entire, community has had food. Because everything gets utilized there. There's ways and means for that. But still, let's say there's some waste which gets generated, which society is not able to utilize, then it gets into the environment. It gets into the dump yard. Now, if this material has not to go into the dump yard, there has to be somebody who should be able to utilize that material. And he may not be able to utilize that material as such. Like, for example, in road construction, the plastic material or the MLPs or whatever, as such, which come out of the garbage bins, if they are sent to the road construction facility, it will never work. You need to shred it to 2 to 4 millimeter, as Dr. Vasudevan was talking about. So when you do that, that's the processing, that's the technology which converts that waste material into a useful material. And then that material gets utilized by someone else. He again generates some waste that again can be converted into another product. And what Dr. Sodhi was talking about, not waste as but a byproduct. And that's the concept which has to start happening. And that's how the circular economy gets developed. So, you try to convert that into a material, waste material into a material which can be reused, which can be recycled, which can be reconverted, rethought, whatever, or the R's that we can think about, recovery. And then finally, ensure that the circle continues. It's an economic circle which continues, and you don't produce waste at all, a zero waste future. And that's what should be the objective. And that's where this industrial symbiosis concept, where a waste is converted into a resource, and then there is a buyer, there's a marketplace for it. And that's where you start sending the material and creating a new economy. That is what is the purpose of this industrial symbiosis and the circular economy. I'm giving you a very complex sort of a chart here. For example, society generates the construction and demolition waste. At one point in time, it used to be a part of the municipal solid waste, even in the rules. Now, at many places, things are changing. So C&D waste is handled separately. When it is handled separately, you have a good opportunity of converting that into aggregates and sand and can be utilized. But if it was a part of the municipal garbage, then it's not possible. It's very difficult that, you can achieve it. There are technologies, with which you can do it, but the cost becomes more expensive. Similarly, you have the dry non-convertible material. For example, we talk about plastic waste, right? Multi-layer packaging, single-use plastics. You have, contaminated plastics, etc., etc. They are non-recyclable material. They become a part of the dry waste, which is not available for recycling, which cannot go for recycling. So if we are able to segregate them into only plastic materials and shred them to less than 4 mm size, it can be sent for the construction. And I've seen in Bengulla how Mr. Kokre was doing shredding of that and sending it for the road construction. But you may also have other materials, like, for example, old chappal, shoes, tire pieces, tube pieces, resin pieces, thermocol pieces, contaminated paper, contaminated plastics, contaminated, clothes, right? Old clothes. All that is a part of this RDF, the dry non-recyclable material. So what to do with that? So if once you have segregated the plastic waste from it and put it for construction or for plastol or other applications which are worthy of that material, rest material, I said, let's take it into the cement kiln as a fuel material. And then it started going. Today, large quantities of this material is getting into the cement kilns, where I had the opportunity of working and developing this concept. And that's where, today about more than 3 to 4 lakh material, gets into the cement kiln as a lakh tons of material as the input material, as a fuel material into the cement kiln, saving almost as much quantities of coal, which is used in the cement kiln. So you also have industrial hazardous and non-hazardous waste. As such, you used to burn them off or in the incinerator or put them into landfills. But we said, why not we utilize it as a resource material? And we started making use of it in the cement manufacture. Agro waste, whatever is there, that can get into the cement kiln. That can also be used in a power plant to generate power. Now I'm working on even it can be used in steel industry, large quantities. So all these particular materials which are so-called waste and which are shown in red arrows here, these are the materials which, if we are properly able to convert that into something, which is a byproduct, which is an acceptable material, there is a market, there is a buyer, and that's how the circular economy is growing. So you can convert, into the fly ash into bricks or fly ash into cement, and then put it for use. You can convert emissions also, whether it is carbon dioxide emission, SOx emission, SOx and NOx emission, you can convert them into different products. And then, and these are all technologies which are available and which are working. So you can convert that into a fertilizer, SOx and NOx into ammonium sulfate and ammonium nitrate fertilizer, SOx into gypsum for use in gypsum board and other applications, CO2 into algae, CO2 into methanol, CO2 into, various other applications, and then, put it for use in the thing. So in industrial symbiosis, you're trying to look at a waste material as a resource material, looking at it from the perspective of the user, or the buyer, and then converting, giving a shape which is acceptable to that buyer, the size, the chemical properties, the technical properties to that waste material, so that it becomes an acceptable material for the buyer and he starts utilizing. And that's where we start generating this particular circular economy. A simple example is, which I had the opportunity of working in the cement industry, was this particular, dry, non-recyclable waste material, which you can see on the left photo. If you look at it that way, nobody will touch it. But look at the figure which is on the right side, the photo on the right side. Everybody will say, yes, this is a product, this is a useful material, this can certainly be utilized. So even for the cement kiln, if you give the material which is which is seen like the material in the left photo, cement industry will say we don't want it. But if you show them the right side material, they will say, yes, why not? We'll be happy to use it. So how does this change happen? This change happens because of this pre-processing facility, which is in between, where you do the necessary change in the characteristics of the material, whether it is physical or chemical. And that's where, you have an opportunity of gainfully utilizing this waste material as much as it is possible. And as Mr. Kokre was saying, he has taken the utilization level of the material to almost like 85%, and is very hopeful that it can be taken to 100%. These are the methodologies by which things can certainly work and give us that opportunity of utilizing the material 100%. You don't have to go to the into the nature again to start looking for the material. You already have this material, you can start utilizing. So what all is happening in this world today of industrial symbiosis? You had earlier the controls by the government, that you have to have emission like this, effluent like this, then only it will be allowed. You have discharge standards, etc., etc. And you used to happily achieve those particular standards and put it into the environment, causing damage to the environment. But things are changing now. Everybody is saying this is not acceptable. Even society has become very vigilant and knowledgeable. So they are saying that, no, we don't accept this. Why this climate change has become a very sensitive issue today? Because even a farmer, a very, very low-lying, very insignificant human being also, as far as literacy is concerned, he is aware that climate change is there and is going to impact us. And that's where the level of understanding of the environmental impact is happening. And the society is gearing up. They are going to say, look, if you are generating any waste, we are not interested. You have to close down. And that's where I'm saying the industrial symbiosis will become a very, very, very important concept or the savior for us, in ensuring that the economy survives, the GDP grows, and the sustainability will continue to run the countries and the GDPs. So what happens there? The industrial symbiosis will help generate new products. It will help generate new applications. It will help generate new processes. How will that happen? It will happen through research. And what kind of research? It will be a collaborative research. Networks will be there. In the earlier days, cement industry had nothing to do with the pharmaceutical industry. Never ever, the two CEOs or even the operators had any opportunity of meeting together and discussing. But with this industrial symbiosis concept, the cement industry and the pharmaceutical industry are interacting together. The municipalities and the cement industries, the municipalities and the recyclers, the municipalities and the various hazardous waste treatment facilities, everybody is working, interacting, and those are the new networks which are getting formed, and interactions are happening, and things are changing and moving this concept towards the circular economy. So what are the operating principles of this industrial symbiosis? First is, which waste stream will qualify for industrial symbiosis? All the waste that I'm talking about here, for example, all the hazardous and non-hazardous industrial waste, all the agro waste and biomass produced by the industries, all the different segregated constituents of municipal solid waste, they are all amenable for industrial symbiosis. Who can utilize? All industries that utilize natural resources. If somebody is utilizing calcium carbonate, somebody is utilizing calcium hydroxide, somebody is utilizing maybe some carbon, maybe some crude oil, maybe some coal. Whatever is the material, doesn't matter. You will find a substitute material coming out of the waste material, and we can utilize that. So what resource does a secondary resource replace? All the natural materials. So for example, natural material like all the mined materials will get replaced by the utilization of secondary resource. And what is secondary resource? Secondary resource is one which is derived from the waste materials. So that's how the industrial symbiosis starts working, and there are many examples which are slowly emerging. And it is not at the pilot scale or small bench scale that I'm talking about today. Giant industries are working on this principle, where you will find that, for example, steel industry generates a lot of, almost every steel industry generates about something like 2 to 3 million tons of blast furnace slag. So they would set up a cement industry, and they have set up cement industries to utilize this blast furnace slag as a resource material, as an additive in the cement. So they have also started manufacturing cement. So I'm talking about sizes of that kind, where millions of tons of material, which are waste material, are getting utilized as gainful resource material, replacing the natural material in this particular secondary resource utilization. So this is a new initiative, which is something that I have kicked off, which is Innovation Hub, wherein it's a marketplace-driven initiative. So we look at the waste stream, we look at the market, and we try to see what kind of transformation the waste is required to do in terms of physical chemical characteristics. And then we say, if that transformation is done, then this waste material can be utilized by that industry. And that's where the two loops or two entities come together and start working on that. And the industry or the person who is purchasing this particular waste material as a byproduct material, he is going to get it at a cheaper price than the natural material. So apart from conserving the natural material, he's also going to get it cheap. And the industry who was generating this waste material had to spend money to dispose it. So now by transforming this into a product material, it is going to earn revenue. So both are going to become, revenue earning material entities. One earns revenue, other saves the money in its expenditure, which he incurs, and both gain therefore. And it's a win-win situation with which this industrial symbiosis works. So that's what I thought I should share with you. And in solid waste management, I think industrial symbiosis is working, is doing extremely good work as a concept, and is helping to solve this environmental problem in a very big way. So thank you for giving us this opportunity, Dr. Kulkarni. I end here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ullas ji. And as I understand, Dr. Amir Sahu would like to leave the meeting because he has meeting lined up with the Silver Jubilee function of NSWAI. So I sincerely express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Amir Sahu once again for rescheduling and being present with us and joining us live for the WARSA launch event. And thank you so much, Dr. Sir. Before we move on to our director's conclusion, I would like to share my screen really quickly with all the participants in the meeting. And in the WARSA, I've been seeing vibrant charts that were moving during the meeting, and to address some of the questions, I put forth here the mind map that we talk about in our report. So this is the mind map that you can, one second. Okay. This is the mind map that we are talking about in this Policy Advocacy Research Center's project. And we have mapped about these key stakeholders, starting from central government. And here we have kids as future stakeholders. And all those gray areas are the opportunities to strategize inclusive and equitable for all those gray areas. And if they are incorporated into the system really can drive the change, as Mr. Ullas Parlikar has highlighted in his talk. So we would encourage all our participants and interested people to visit our WARSA report and understand the stakeholder categories that we have mentioned over there. Try to analyze their current space in the system and how they can improve the status from low to medium to pass the phase of inertia. So I would request now our executive director, Mr. Vikram Sankar Narayanan, to deliver a keynote concluding speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amar. All the speakers for having contributed extensively in this dialogue. and for having brought about multiple ideas and multiple perspectives that will add value for a constructive pathway forward. Ms. Afreen Kidwai, of particular note from what you had mentioned, the decide, announce, and defend approach really caught my attention. Further to which also, how you highlighted that the channels, though there are multiple channels, the management of these channels as well is not also contingent just on a few managers, but it has to take an integrated approach to be able to bring about all the other influences, especially the media, but media and others as well. And you holders and individual awareness through media is one of the key factors and key submissions that you wish to submit over here. Mr. Amar Singh, thank you so much for representing the Material Recycling Association of India. And I laud the scale of work that has been done, the institutional engagements that you had through Niti Aayog, and also sharing with us perspectives, for example, of how most of the other activities as well actually comes from scrap and not virgin ore, in terms of how we can manage waste, how we can manage dump site waste in mining areas as well, and how this has an impact overall. You had submitted over here that the government should remove restrictions on the import of scrap, as India has limited natural resources to be able to bridge the gap of its requirement, which really caught my attention. This will be addressed, sir. Dr. Anya Sahu, I think your key line of saying garbage is money really packed a punch. The fact is that, when you're looking at it from a circular economical perspective, the fact that, if we offer an incentivization structure to be able to get people to understand waste management effectively as a resource for which there is a remuneration to it, I think that invariably we'll be seeing that catalyzing to change that we need faster. Also, I was grateful for your submissions on highlighting the role of academia and research. And also, furthermore, your stress on the conscientiousness of citizens of a country. Because at the end of the day, authorities can say X. And in India, it's become very fashionable to blame the government. It's become very fashionable to blame the authority. And it's easy, I often find that people congregate and start the blame game. But they don't often ask themselves, what is it that they can do, you see? Engagement with the public through constant awareness programs, which can condition certain behaviors, aligned with your view of bringing about this conscientiousness, would go a long way as well. Another thing as well is how you had brought about the dialogue towards the informal sector and how the informal sector needs to be integrated. So how is it that we can align them into a measurable manner of actually bringing in, trying to understand what waste they generate as well. How is it that they manage that quantum of waste? That was a relevant point vis-a-vis that. Furthermore, sir, from Dr. R. Vasudevan as well, it was, the kind of perspective that you've been having. I've heard about Dr. R. Vasudevan from Ms. Santashila Nair, who's, I think, worked with Mr. R. Vasudevan before on trying to bring about his sir's approach in Tamil Nadu as well. And it's worked effectively. And ma'am has been a great proponent of your work across India when she has been across in various capacities in the central and state governments. The fact is, I liked one of your lines of not to ban, but to plan. Because the thing is, as you mentioned, it's very easy for us, to be sitting inside highly perched offices, taking an academic approach of plastic. But the practical importance of plastic and how is it that, plastic is still the poor man's approach, and whatever said and done in this country, we have to accept that plastic will be a constant reality. For some of us, it's not going to be, but mostly it is. And how is it that we can address and plan the management of plastic is something of great importance. Emphasized a lot on the management of wet waste and the segregation of wet waste, which is actually a very complex area. And that also needs its own in-depth analysis on how to manage it, because the downstream and upstream to solid waste management per se. So I think that we will certainly be looking at a bifurcation here. At Park, who's leading our initiatives. Mr. Sandeep Asolkar, missions on the inversely proportional logic of the remuneration of people who manage waste, around to collect the waste. Repositioning of that job role is of paramount importance. Just like how we have doctors, we have nurses, we have other professionals as well, it needs to be looked into. I've had the privilege of visiting your plant. I must admit that that was a great educational platform for me, because the way you managed waste in an integrated manner in Goa, it should be something that I think all of you should go and see. All the members of the audience should go and visit, because if models are scaled up across the country and replicated, it would go a long way as well, from a central core point. Ravlikar, your ISCE model, the industrial symbiosis and building of this, it's taking into consideration a large amount of industrial management of waste as well, which is something that I bureaucracy. So through public-private partnerships on engagement towards this, it'll be great if we can engagement. I would like to submit that from my side, we will be having as to how to go ahead with based on the submissions that have been given here and on the launch of WARSA. And we will also be organizing Minister's office for ensuring some of the submissions that have been made at this meeting are taken forward as well. We will be sharing our strategy for getting this petition signed by stakeholders within the industry and within all your contacts as well. Pride in the efforts that you've invested, and it was heartwarming for me to see the kind of feedback that your report has are going to go an extremely long way for us across the country, and I take great. Another group of people I wish to really thank are my team members. My team members had managed this and had stood with Amarja through and through over the last 2 to 3 months, and they planned meticulously. They've all aligned themselves, despite each one of them being extremely busy. And the fact is that, you know, today we did have a crisis in the beginning, and I take great pride in saying that my team had managed the situation quite well. I look forward to engaging with all members again, and we should have a consultative meeting shortly after this. Thank you all so much for taking your time today. And we really look forward to taking multiple steps, starting from what we've done through launching WARSA through Park. Thank you so much. Namaste and Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vikram sir. Thank you all the participants for your presence today. Thank you speakers, thank you directors, and thank you advisory members for supporting us today. In the launching of WARSA report, and we look forward to have a structured dialogue with each one of you to take this further. And I request all of you to visit our website once again and have a look at the report, and your feedbacks will enrich the report and enrich our future engagement strategies with all the stakeholders. With that said, thank you all for supporting Policy Advocacy Research Center in the first initiative WARSA towards managing the waste as resources through by changing stakeholders' approaches. Thank you so much. What have